So if you have submitted any application of the sort to Canadian immigration, you know that their processing times are no joke. It can vary from a month to 4 months to 6 months to a year to more than a year. And sometimes it can be very frustrating to wait for that bloom, it's been approved. But there are some times when a long processing time is your friend. Now, how is that possible, and which application does that apply to? Let's find out. Hi, welcome back to our channel, and if you are new here, welcome to As Told by Canadian Immigrants. I'm Christina, your friendly Canadian immigrant, telling you more about Canadian immigration, what it's like to be a Canadian immigrant, and sharing the experience of others. Which long processing time is your friend? So right now, 'tis the season for study permit applications and work permit applications. We're in about September right now, and people who are coming to school for the September term would just have been arriving, would have arrived in August, would have just finished getting their study permit application together. And then there are people who came here in January as well, and they are now finished school and are applying for a postgraduate work permit. So now, which one of these two has a beneficial long processing time? Well, it's definitely not the study permit, because you just want to get that as quickly as possible and get to Canada, right? So we're not even going to talk about that one right now, but we're going to talk about it in a second. Watch it to the end, because there's some important information about when you use an immigration consultant for a study permit, what you should and should not do. So now, for those who came here in January, or even if you've come some other time, you've gone to school for 8 months, and now the 8 months is complete and you need to go look for a job. And you still have like about 2 to 3 months left on your study permit. Now, as per the Canadian immigration website, right, if you have completed school and you have received your letter of completion, your transcript, and you've submitted your application to get your work permit, you can work full-time until you get your work permit, right? Even if your study permit expires, once your application for your work permit is in, you can legally work until you get a decision on your work permit. And that is called implied status. So that's when you're like in limbo, when you have no valid Canadian documentation and you're waiting for the approval process of another one, right? So when it comes to the work permit, right? If you finish school in August, your work permit is going to expire in November, hypothetically speaking. That was the case for me. If you submit your application for a work permit, let's say in September or even October, and you have to wait 4 long months to get back that work permit, that 4 months is 4 months extra time that you are getting on your work permit. Does that make sense? So here's my situation, okay? When I finished school in August, I got myself together. I got a job. That's very important. Get a job, okay? Get a job as quickly as possible right out of school. I got a job and I was working in that job and submitted my application for my work permit in about October. The processing time back in the day was about 30 days, but now I've been told it's 4 months. So let us say I submitted my application in October. My study permit will expire in November, okay? If I get my work permit back in 30 days, then my work permit is going to be valid from November of this year to November of the following year. That's a 30-day processing time. If the processing time is 4 months and I submit it in October, November, December, January, February is when you get back your work permit. And your work permit will be valid from February of that year to February of the following year. So technically you've just gained 4 months plus the year that you will need to make up express entry. Now, why is this important? When it comes to express entry, if you're trying to apply through the Canadian Experience class, you have to be working in Canada for at least a year. Now, if you don't get a job in a year, or if you only get a job 2 months into the year, then you're cutting yourself short. But if you get 4 months extra, then it's your friend. So I hope that confused nobody and you get the point. But long processing times for your work permit can be beneficial, but mostly only if you have a job. So that is something that I wanted to sort of give to you guys who are right now out there waiting for your work permit to be processed. And you're like, oh my gosh, when is it coming? It's coming. If you've been waiting for 3 months and you haven't gotten a rejection yet, I'm not going to say you can't still get rejected, but the likelihood of getting a rejection after waiting for 3 months of a 4-month processing time is slim. So as long as you know that you're in the clear, no imminent rejection, then a long processing time is your friend. And therefore, your work term in Canada is the processing time plus 1 year of your work permit. Now, study permits. Now, I know there are a lot of people all over the world who have attempted the study permit on their own and others who have attempted the study permit with help. Do you have to get help? No. Is it beneficial to get help? Yes. Is it always beneficial to get help? Not necessarily, right? If you feel confident enough to get all the paperwork correct and submit your application and get approved, then Bob's your uncle. If you don't feel as confident or as comfortable and you paid somebody to do it, there's one thing that you definitely want to get from that person who is doing the application on your behalf. Get at least your application number or your UCI number or something that you can use as a reference to your application. Now, why do I say that? There's a couple people who are messaging me saying that, I use this immigration consultant. I haven't heard back yet. I don't know how to check my status because they have my online access. Fine. What you need and all you really need to check what your status is on an application is an application number or your unique client ID. Because you can go to a website called ECAS and plug in very simple information. Application number, last name, date of birth, country, and you'll get the latest and the greatest information on your application. The benefit of this is peace of freaking mind because immigration consultants are dealing with more than one people. They also are not trying to immigrate. So they are not in the same boat as you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, right? The urgency for the application lies mostly only with you because you're the one trying to go to Canada, right? So at minimum, when this person who you have hired to submit your application submits your application for you, get something to reference your application. Because too many times I'm hearing about people who have zero access and they can't get in contact with a consultant because the consultant is busy. And that's understandable. They are busy. They're not just dealing with just you, okay? So get that for your own good. So now let's talk about long processing times with study permits. Okay, this is never your friend. You always want to get it in, get it back really quickly so you can plan, get a good price plane ticket and go where you're going, right? Now, say for instance, you're waiting for your visa application. It hasn't come in yet and school has begun. My experience is that there is a cutoff date after which you are no longer able to register. So you're already registered, but you need to formally fully register by attending classes and going to the international student department and giving them your study permit information. When I was coming into Canada, they were saying like by the 5th day of class, you must be in class. If you are absent past the 5th day, you have to defer to another semester. So if you're sitting down at home right now, waiting for your application to be processed and you don't know what the cutoff time is, check what the cutoff time is because maybe it has passed. And it's not the end of the world if it passed. but it means that you'll have to defer to the winter term to start in January versus starting right now in September. So that's not to freak anybody out, but it is something that you need to look into, something that you need to consider, just in case you've passed the cutoff time to get to school. So the whole purpose of this week's video and talking about that is for people who are out there right now stressing because their work permit application is taking too long, and for those other people who are who have submitted a study permit and it's not coming in and you don't know what to do. If you call CIC, you don't know what to tell them because you have no reference to your application. So I appreciate you and the time you take to watch these videos. Please remember to subscribe. There's a subscribe button on the left here. Join our immigrant community. Hear my story and the stories of others and any information that we can give to you to make your transition and immigration process to Canada as stress-free and worry-free as possible. Keep the faith, and I will see you in the next video.